Well, out of the workshop today on a special do-it-yourself mission to change the toilet cistern washer for my daughter. It's a super easy job that anybody could do, although it did have a little twist to it, as you'll see. Another DIY job to fix a slow filling toilet. Now this toilet's been working perfectly and all of a sudden has decided to fill slowly. So we'll get the lid off, have a look inside. I think I know what it might be. Now we'll need to turn the water off. I think by regulation, toilets, if they've been fitted in recent years, is supposed to have one of these stopcock valves, a ball valve. And to turn off the water to the toilet, you simply can put a screwdriver in there, and if that line screwdriver slot is in line with the pipe, it's on, and if you turn it 90 degrees and it's across, it's off. But we can't get to this if there is even one fitted. Now this toilet wasn't fitted so long ago, but you can see it's all enclosed. So I'm not quite sure how that quite meets the regulations, but I'm not a plumber, this is just do it yourself. We're just ordinary people willing to have a go. So we'll need to turn the water off to the house, which is straightforward. There's a stopcock in the kitchen. To get this off, just unscrew this push button here. They're only plastic, so be a bit careful. And this should just lift off then. Put that one aside, don't break it. Water level. Now if I pull this up, it should flush, he says. So it fills from here. So there's a float. It's difficult to get the camera up above because it's on a tripod and I don't want the camera waving around. But anyway, there's the float there. And as that comes up, it'll turn the water off. And this is the valve here. So when we've turned the water off to this toilet, we'll unscrew this and we'll try and understand why it's filling so slowly, because it just takes forever to fill. Now, in case it crosses your mind, it's not flooding into the toilet. So earlier toilets would have a separate overflow pipe, but on these modern toilets, if the valve doesn't shut off and the water level gets too high, the toilet will overflow, the water will overflow into this tube and it overflows down into the toilet pan. I suppose you could get a situation where if there was a leak at the bottom of this tower, it could be flooding into the pan. You probably won't see it, but I can see it's not flooding into the pan. So it really looks like this is just filling too slowly, and it didn't do that until recently. Water's off. Unscrew that. Well, that's interesting. We're still getting some water coming through, actually. So it must be, we need to drain off the water in the cistern. So we've turned the water off to the house, but it must be the weight of the water in the pipes through the house. So if we turn on this this bathroom sink here. I would have, there's little coming out of that. I would have expected this to not have any water in. It should die away. It is. It's just water in the pipes coming down the wall or wherever they happen to be. Right, okay. Right, a bit more investigation. Well, to be honest, I thought there was a blockage in here and maybe a bit of dirt was in the pipe and it got blocked behind the jet that comes into the cistern. But it's looking more like it's the washer. So there's the washer. They're only like that. They only cost a few coppers. And they do go from time to time. And you can see that's split. Now they operate, and I can't explain it exactly, but they operate with a kind of vacuum effect. And if that washer is damaged, then they won't operate properly. And that could be what our problem is. So we could call this video replacing the washer on a toilet cistern, because we definitely need a new one. Let me come into this a bit closer. There you are. You can see, look how it's just split. So we'll be off to get another washer. They buy them normally in packs of 2 or 3. I've got a toilet somewhere, don't last that long, only about 3 years, something like that. Because what can also happen is the seal where this comes up against is just by that cross there, and you might see a circle just around that cross. This rubber goes a bit hard and it won't seal, and that's when you get the toilet kind of filling too much and then dribbling down into the pan all the time. But just changing this washer for a few coppers usually fixes it, and it's a quick and easy job. Easy within the scope of the most DIY people. One quick trip to Screwfix later. I think it was about, did you say £5?
Yeah, around that.
Which I thought was a bit steep actually. Well, never mind, you can probably normally get these in packs of 2 for about that, I think. But anyway, SIAMP was the name of the manufacturer. But these are pretty common anyway. So you need to get that slot there into that hole there, that peg into that slot, like that. Okay, and you need to put this over there, and then pretty much it just screws on. There's a key somewhere. Yes, there's a little peg there, and that goes in at the top, which is just there if you can see it. Right, and then this lever goes into a slot which is on the float. There's a grey part here, a grey screw which adjusts the float height. So in other words, that affects how much water comes in to what level. So that needs to go in. So that's now in. And just screw this up. Now, we'll just have to turn the water on and make sure it works. Hopefully, we've just changed the washer and fixed the problem. It's just, I'm not sure I've got that keyed in properly there. It's just not sitting right. That's better, I think. That's it. This was a bit turned over. I hadn't got that little peg in the slot at the top here. You can test it by just lifting this up and down like that. Hold on, I'll just get my camera in my hand, and I'll show you. Well, I'm sorry, the camera's bound to wobble about now. But there's the lever. And the fork at the end goes into that slot on this grey screw. And it's the screw that sets the height that the water comes to. And that moves freely, that's the point. Right, turn the water on, see what happens. Yeah, go on, go ahead. Now we'll see if it's filling quicker. I think it, yes, I'm sure that's filling quicker, much quicker than it was. Try and keep the light on it, and then it should shut off as it gets to the right height. I mean, even if it was wrong and it overflowed, it would only go down that tube there and into the pan. It wouldn't go on the floor or anything. There's normally a line on here somewhere, often at the back, which tells you what the water level should be. Now that's overfilling, so I've done something wrong. I'll have to check it. Right, well, the water's off again. So
What was I going through?
take this off again and see what I've got wrong. This is not one of these how-to studio videos. It's a very practical, how do you mess it up the first time video. Let's check it. Well, it's working, and we're just pleased that it's working, but we don't know exactly why. What we did, we took the old former and the new rubber part. Now, whether the new rubber washer was not sitting properly on this former, maybe it wasn't properly over one of these lugs. You see the shape of it against my finger, I imagine. Yeah? So whether it wasn't quite sitting on there properly, I don't know. The new washer against the new plastic former bit. But anyway, we took the risk and we took off the old damaged washer. That's right. And we put a new washer on the old former that came off with this. And now it works perfectly. And believe me, we tried quite a few experiments. So it possibly isn't a genuine SIAMP washer. Perhaps there was some slight differences in the former. I really can't explain it. But anyway, that's how you fix a slow filling toilet, by replacing that washer. Those washers don't seem to last very long these days. In my experience, about 4 or 5 years. They can split like that, but much more often they don't seal properly, and then the cistern's overfilling, and then you've got this trickle of water coming down into the loo pan. And if you're on a water meter, you can use quite a bit of water that way. £5, I think today, £5.40 from Screwfix for just one of those washers, and that's really quite expensive. I looked on Amazon this morning and it was about £6.40 for 5, and I've no reason to believe that they are poor quality or anything like that. And honestly, normally it's a 5-minute job to change them. I just had that really strange problem where I had to swap the plastic holder. I think I might have called it a former. I couldn't think of the right word. Swapping the rubber over for that original holder. That doesn't normally happen. Normally it's like 2 minutes. Getting the key in the right place when you screw it together and getting that fork into the float are the two important things. Anyway, I hope that saves you some money. Thanks for watching.